My first year teaching, I had an overhead projector, and I thought that was pretty fancy.
I had heard the talk of blended learning.
Then the second year, we got our Promethean boards, and then of course that was like, whoa, this whole other world opened up.
Had these visions in my head of students going home and watching the teacher teach on video.
What the blended learning has allowed us to do is it has allowed students to have deep dives into things that they find really relevant for their own lives.
The reality of blended learning is so much more deep and so much more student-centered than I think I ever perceived.
It would be an understatement to say it's revolutionized the way that things work in this classroom and the way that we think about the role of the teacher and the role of the student.
Blended learning is an innovation which combines face-to-face instruction with online learning. Over the last 3 years, blended learning was initiated in 10 Denver public schools hitting all grade levels. Some of those programs were large across the whole school, while others were smaller and much more focused.
We can think through how does learning happen in different ways for kids.
It gets a lot more kids involved in what they want to do, because instead of reading a textbook, now we have all these online sites we can search for.
I would say that blended learning allowed teachers to collaborate in new and different ways. It allowed students to collaborate, so there's definitely an increase in student collaboration, especially around writing.
The blogs that we use help us with our writing strategies.
Technology for technology's sake isn't the purpose of blended learning. It's making sure that it's purposeful and meaningful and intentional for our kids, and it's actually enhancing their learning.
If you get a problem wrong, it explains why you got it wrong.
I've seen the data. Students have really increased their understanding of the material, and I really enjoy seeing them enjoy instruction a lot more and be much more engaged in the learning process.
There's a lot of community members that weren't sending their kids to the school. You could see the writing on the wall just closing down the school. We set a sense of urgency. We said, you know what, we can redesign ourselves, or someone will redesign us. We're seeing from a school being a closing school, to now to being seen as a school that people come and learn from. So initially we were already moving into an innovation the process, and we applied for the innovation status. But then when we got started, we didn't have the Janus funds at that time. And afterwards, when Janus saw what we did, they realized how committed we were to the blended learning piece.
You know, there's a lot more freedom in teaching than there used to be. And so we're not having to follow a prescribed curriculum so much anymore. We can be more thoughtful about our students and what they need.
The computer has tabs, and you can watch the video. And while you're watching the video, if you have something to write, you don't have to wait until the video's done on the teacher's computer and then write it, because you might forget it.
I have learned many things, fundamental lessons in education and also about life.
Through the use of blended learning, we're learning more about not just the art and science of teaching, we're also learning about things that we couldn't have anticipated. We're asking the questions about, like, you know, grade levels don't always happen in the buckets of 6, 7, 8. How do we actually give them the extended learning opportunities, and then also give them, like, the remediation opportunities that we can actually meet them in real time where they need it.
Last spring, the vision for blended learning at Carson was born, and it came out of a conversation around our center-based program for deaf and hard of hearing students. Carson is a school where students are bused from all over the district who are deaf and hard of hearing, and they come to Carson to receive a center-based education. Blended learning was an opportunity to provide students access to technology, which they did not have at home.
We're one of the first schools to be brave enough to send devices home and to try to navigate the world of supplying internet access for the students who don't have internet access at home.
If you use the paper, it's like tough. If you use the colorblock, it's like easy to figure out.
Shutting the door at 4 o'clock is shutting them off from their educational opportunities that they would have through the programs we've invested in.
We're living in a time when basically students actually have a better grasp on what it really means to be the end user in a technology-based society.
It's really refreshing to be able to innovate in the classroom. I was feeling somewhat stagnant with typical lessons and feeling as though engagement was low, so it's really increased our student engagement. It's helped me to be able to be more creative in my lessons.
It just took a lot of just positive attitude and being open to learning.
It's been a work in progress, but every single year has been better than the one before.
We did have a collaborative team talk about the different things that they were trying. Then we were able to say, put different things on the don't do this list and try this list.
If somebody would have said we had to follow a protocol, it would have almost impeded the work that we've done. And that's not to say that we haven't faltered along the way or made our mistakes along the way.
Yeah, we get asked pretty much like every day if something's correct or if it could be laid out in a different way or if you should try something new.
Technology is our vessel for figuring out where we are, figuring out what our next steps are, allowing me to know that for every single one of the students and know what steps the students need to take. And without technology, that kind of dissemination of information is impossible.
We couldn't do this without the Janus support team. It's really been very helpful to just cast a vision with them, but also have them check in consistently and just make sure whatever our vision is just on track.
Really impactful initiative, getting to partner with the schools, the principals, the teachers and students, and customizing learning for individual students.
And I'm thankful that Janus provided us with an opportunity to actually move this ball faster, to get it all rolling faster by investing in our school in years 1, 2, and 3, making sure that we had not only devices but the supports in line so that way we can actually take the risks, try new things, develop new programs.
While the Janus project was an amazing way for us to start and give us a beginning foundation to do what we want to do, where children have one-to-one devices and they're really creating and showing their learning through devices, we wanted to be able to grow. So we are part of a personalized learning cohort.
We are expanding the program to our free and reduced lunch students.
Also to be able to give those opportunities in the youth growing up and their education and hope that we see the returns of our investment into our workforce in the future. We very much value that and see the importance in making sure that people are given the right opportunities out of the gate to build on.
I can't imagine ever going back to something other than the model that we've carved out here.